All right, let's start 18.2. This is now our introduction to trigonometry. So if we remember our right triangle business from 18.1, we're now going to have some ratios that we can set up with these sides. Okay, so let me zoom in just a little bit and we'll kind of make this, maybe it's a little more clear. Okay. Now, in our right triangle, notice the angles are denoted with capital letters and the sides are small letters or lowercase. And so if you see that this angle is capital A, then the side opposite that one will be lowercase and so on. Okay. Now we have three trig ratios: sine, cosine, and tangent. These go along with, on your calculator, if you have a regular calculator or one of these, you have these three functions: sine, cosine, and tangent. Okay, that's what you need on your scientific calculator, are these three signs, and you need to know how to go to the mode button and make sure you're in degree mode. So arrow over degree mode. Now, from the angle, so you need to know what angle you're starting from, okay, whenever we're doing these, okay? So over here, if you look, each acute angle of a right triangle has the following trigonometric ratios. So sine is the side opposite over the hypotenuse. So if you look at sine of A would be the angle. Okay, this is how we write, this is the abbreviation for sine, S-I-N. Okay, so sine of A, so that means we're starting at angle A. So I start at angle A, and from there, okay, I'm going to go opposite. Well, from A, opposite would be this side, lowercase a. Okay, side A, or angle A, opposite side A. All right. This C is always the hypotenuse, right? C is always the hypotenuse. So we have opposite, and then from this angle A, this side right here would be the adjacent side. So we have opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. So sine A then would be side opposite A over hypotenuse C. So we'll say, okay, that's A over C. Then if we're going from angle B, so the sine of B, so we'll start at angle B. So from angle B, the side opposite then is now this one. Opposite would be B, and hypotenuse would be C. So opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, notice they're different depending on what angle you start from. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, I'm going to write sine in here. So sine is opposite over adjacent. Cosine is opposite over hypotenuse. Adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. Okay, and we're going to get to more of that in just a minute. So now let's go to cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Cosine of A, so go to A, the angle A. Adjacent would be then this one, side B here. So adjacent over hypotenuse, so that would be B over C. And then we go to cosine of B, so now we're going to go to the B angle. B angle. Adjacent, which would be now this side right here, adjacent over hypotenuse. So A over C. And if you're picking up on this, you notice that the sine from one angle is the same as the cosine of the other angle. Okay. But you have to know what angle you're starting from. So tangent of A. So we go to A. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So opposite would be A, adjacent would be B from this angle. Okay, so A over B in this case, according to that figure. So according to the figure, this is what we're filling in, is according to the figure on the left. Tangent of B, so we go to B. Tangent would be opposite, which is now B, over A. And notice the tangents are just reciprocals from one angle to the other. And these are the only two angles we're going to use. We never use the right angle in these ratios. Okay, so there's a little phrase that we can remember. It's called SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. So this is relating to our three trig functions. So the S is referencing sine. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So C, cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent T, opposite over adjacent. So this is opposite over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse, and opposite over adjacent. All right, now let's go. We have a triangle here. We're going to need the hypotenuse, so we have to use the Pythagorean theorem to find the third side. So that's the first thing we're going to have to do, because we're going to write down all the ratios, okay, or all the fractions. So 9 squared plus 12 squared equals C squared. So that's going to be, well, actually, if you label it correctly, it would be lowercase y. So maybe I'll just do lowercase y to make sure it's correct. So 81 plus 144 is y squared. So add those together, what do I get? 225. So y squared is going to equal 225. Square root both sides. Y is 15. So I'm just going to put it in there. All right, so now this says sine of W. So I'm going to start at W. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. That's 12 over 15. And then we have to reduce all our fractions. That would reduce to 4 over 5. Okay, so now we go to cosine of W. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So that's 9 over 15. Reduce the fraction. That would be 3/5. And then tangent from W. Tangent would be 12 over 9. Reduce the fraction. 4 over 3. Okay, now this next group we're starting from the X angle. So sine from the X angle, sine would be opposite 9 over 15. Well, have you seen that one before? Oh yeah, that was over here. What does that reduce to? 3/5. So those would be the same. Remember, the sine of one angle would be the same as the cosine of the other. So if we go to the cosine of X, adjacent over hypotenuse, that's 12 over 15. If we remember what we just said, that should be the same as the sine of the other angle. Oh, it is. Okay, 4/5. Then tangent would be opposite 9 over adjacent 12. And that is just the same as what we talked about earlier, where tangents of those two angles are reciprocals. So this would be 3/4. Okay, now let's do the same thing on example 2. We need to find the third side, so we're going to go 50 is our hypotenuse. So we're going to go 14 squared plus, that would be what, little r? This would be, because it's opposite that, let's do little r squared, equals 50 squared. So let's see, if I take 50 squared and I subtract 14 squared, I'm going to get r squared. I'm just skipping a couple steps here. 50 squared minus 14 squared, that's going to leave me 2304. And then if I square root that, that's going to be 48. Okay, so r is 48. So I got to find the side first. Now I just start at my angle. Sine of r. Sine is opposite over a hypotenuse, so 48 over 50. 48 over 50, that reduces to 24 over 25. Now, if you want to skip ahead, you could say, oh, I know the sine of one is the same as the cosine of the other one, so this would just be 24 over 25. You can go to Q. Cosine would be adjacent over hypotenuse. Yeah, 48 over 50, which is the same. All right, back to the angle R. Angle R, cosine adjacent over hypotenuse, so that's 14 over 50. Reduce the fraction, 7 over 25. Tangent of R, opposite over adjacent, that's 48 over 14. Reduce the fraction, 24 over 7. So now the sine of Q, that's opposite over hypotenuse. Sine of Q would be the same as the cosine of the other one, which is, you can see those are the same. And the tangent, they're just reciprocals of each other, just going from a different angle. Okay? All right, let's see. What do we do here? Find the sine of x. So the sine of x is going to equal the side opposite, which we don't know, over hypotenuse, so something over 65. So how do we find that side? Well, it's a right triangle. So we'll have to do x squared, this side, we'll do that little x, plus 63 squared equals 65 squared. So if I take my calculator and I do 65 squared minus 63 squared, I get 256. Then I square root at both sides, and I get 16. So 16 then is the top part of my answer. Okay? Tangent of t. Well, from t, I'm going to need this side over here. So tangent of t equals the side opposite, which is 36, over adjacent, which we don't know. So we're going to have to find that, this side right here. Opposite over adjacent. So we're going to have to use Pythagorean theorem again. This side right here we don't know, we'll call it x squared plus 36 squared equals 85 squared. Now, on your calculator, do 85 squared minus 36 squared. And you'll get x squared equals 85 squared minus 36 squared, 5929. And if I square root that, I get a square root of 5929, that's 77. So that goes the bottom part of my fraction. And this fraction doesn't reduce, just like the previous one. The previous one didn't reduce. So this one doesn't reduce, so we just leave it. And there's my tangent of t. Okay? So on your assignment, you're doing the exact same thing. Okay? So refer to your notes, and then you should be fine on the assignment.